Hey everybody, Movie Reviewer Next Door, and I'm back with the Bond series with Goldeneye. So happy to talk about this one. This film is from 1995, directed by Martin Campbell, and it stars Pierce Brosnan, Sean Bean, Isabella Scorupco, Famke Janssen, Jodan Baker, Judi Dench, Robbie Coltrane, Godfrey John, and Alan Cumming. Excuse me there. In this film, when a powerful satellite system falls into the hands of Alec Trevelyan, aka Agent 006, a former ally turned enemy, only James Bond can save the world from an awesome space weapon that, in one short pulse, could destroy the Earth. As Bond squares off against his former compatriot, he also battles Trevelyan's stunning ally, Xenia Onatopp, an assassin who uses pleasure as her ultimate weapon. Now, what do I think of this film? I think it's fantastic. I have next to no issues with it. So, yeah. I guess this is my favorite so far because I did have a few... I still do have an issue with this film. I'm trying to think of other ones, but I do have an issue that I think is an interesting one. But like with For Your Eyes Only is still a 10 out of 10 for me. But I think this film does a couple things better, and if anything, solves some of the issues I had with that one. So, let me just get into the cast. Pierce Brosnan as James Bond. I think he is wonderful as James Bond. I think he has the best first film performance of a James Bond actor. Because even in Dr. No, Sean Connery, you could tell he was still like starting, and it took up until like From Russia with Love and Goldfinger to really get to top tier performance. And Roger Moore in Live and Let Die wasn't exactly up there yet. I do think Pierce Brosnan showed that he was very experienced at that point, and I do think that he has the best performance for the first film of a Bond actor's tenure. He's also not bad in the action scenes, actually. It seemed to be him most of the time. Sean Bean as Alec Trevelyan, or Agent 006. I think he's a good villain. I don't think he's the best or anything. I like him. He's threatening enough. It's Sean Bean. I like Sean Bean as an actor. I've seen him in other spy thrillers where I've also liked him. Clean Skin. But yeah, I do think he's a good villain. Isabella Scorupco as Natalia Fyodorovna. She's a computer hacker. She's the main Bond girl. Or a programmer, excuse me. She's a computer programmer. I actually really like her. I think she's one of the better Bond girls, because they actually give her like a backstory, and there's a good like 10 minutes of the film, 10 to 15 minutes of the film dedicated to telling us all about her, letting us into what's going on her end. And I really like that. This film fleshes out the characters. It uses the running time to actually get you to care about these characters more, and I like that. And she is pretty. And I actually buy her as a computer programmer. I do. Famke Janssen as Xenia Onatopp. I love her. She is fantastic in the film. The way that she like gets so like overcome with ecstasy every time she like mows down a person with guns, or every time she strangles someone to death with her legs, it's infectious. She's so good in this role, and it sucks that she really never got a lot of other big roles, and that seems to happen a lot with Bond girls. Jodan Baker as Jack Wade. This is definitely a better role for him than the character he played in Living Daylights, because he actually gets to do stuff here, and I like him playing the kind of bumbling American Marine. I like that. Judi Dench as M. I like her. not nearly as much as I do Bernard Lee. Maybe it'll take the next movie to get me fully on board with her. I remember liking her more before, but maybe it was mostly because I was just like, oh yeah, it's Judi Dench, I have to like her. I like her, but there's an issue with that I'll get to. Robbie Coltrane is Valentin Dimitrovich. He's good. Gottfried John, not given a ton to do, but he's an alright secondary villain. And Alan Cumming as Boris Grushenko. He's another shining light in this film. I mean, I already love the film. But his character is just so over the top. And Alan Cumming is a really great character actor that I haven't seen much of lately. But I've always really liked him. I think he does the accent well, and he's pretty funny, actually. The opening title sequence is the first one to use CGI, and I think it's a gorgeous one. It may be a bit simple with its visuals, but it uses the simplicity in a very meaningful way, like harkening into the story. You have like the sickles, and you have the gold coloring, the golden eye. I like that. It's very on the nose, but it has something to do with the film where the License to Kill one was, I'll just say it was a bad opening title sequence. Where literally it was just like, oh, Kodak product placement, oh, projection in glasses, or in binoculars. It's like, wow, how boring. And the song Goldeneye by Tina Turner, it's not one of my favorites, but I do still like the song. I don't have like a ton of issues with it or anything. It's just kind of a, it's there. I'm not gonna say it's like terrible or anything. But yeah, here's the thing. I love this movie. I do. I love this as an action film, I love it as a spy thriller, and I love it as a Bond film. I want to get the issue I have out of here out of the way real quick. This film may have been the one to start the whole James Bond is a misogynist thing, all due to lines from Moneypenny and M in this film. Samantha Bond, Judi Dench and Samantha Bond, respectively. Judi Dench has the line, I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War. And Samantha Bond says, keep talking to me like that and I'll have to file for sexual harassment. Now, I understand that around this time, the whole feminist movement was a big thing. I understand that. I am behind, I think it's first wave, I can't remember which wave it is, but the feminism that is, the wave of feminism that is equal rights. I understand that. I understand the whole equal rights thing. The one that's like more rights, I think that's not exactly fair, whatever. What I'm getting at is, they're trying to say that Bond slept with women because he's misogynist. He's a misogynist or he's sexist. I don't recall a single time that Bond has been actively hateful towards women. Now, if you were saying that if you're saying that, okay, all of these Bonds are the same. I'm not going to go with the whole code name theory that they're different Bonds when they're different actors, but the Roger Moore interpretation of Bond, which is what Pierce Brosnan's portrayal is closest to, even though it's kind of a mix of Sean Connery, the best elements of Sean Connery and Roger Moore. Roger Moore slept with women, for pleasure. It's not like he was like, oh, women are only good for sex. No. What these people don't realize is that spies often have to sleep with people in order to get information. Be it men sleeping with women, men sleeping with men, women sleeping with women, women sleeping with men. They use pleasure as a form, they use lovemaking as a form of getting information, extracting information, getting whereabouts. These people who, I don't know who wrote those lines, but it's very obvious that they're new writers, because apparently Richard Maybaum, the writer of the Bond films before this, apparently License to Kill was his last Bond film. And then he wrote for like a couple of the Bond video games, I think 007 Bloodstone, which that story had its own issues. The writer here put that line in, I'm guessing to satiate the feminist crowd, but they do nothing with that. It's just kind of a throwaway line, and it's more just rubs me the wrong way that they were like teasing that Bond would be like celibate or something, which I know it's stupid throwaway lines, but it felt like they were like shoving it in our face, the whole feminism thing. And I don't remember the other films that Brosnan did doing that, so I don't know what the fuck that was. Otherwise, this is a fantastic Bond film. It really is. I have no real issues with the pacing. I don't feel like any of the scenes are just there to be there. I feel like for the most part it is as close to a perfect Bond film as you can get. Now, I've seen a lot of people put Skyfall above this. I have not seen Skyfall. Of Daniel Craig's films, I've seen Casino Royale forever ago and Spectre, closer to when it came out. I wasn't crazy about Spectre, and I wasn't crazy about Casino Royale. So I don't know if I don't know. Just I don't think I'm going to be super into the Daniel Craig films, so I'm enjoying these Pierce Brosnan ones while I can. I mean, up until Die Another Day, but I've never seen Die Another Day, so we'll see. But this film, it's kind of hard to talk about because, yeah, I don't have any big issues with it. I can just talk about the stuff that I liked of it, because I don't like running through the story. I feel like that's not really, I feel like it's pointless to watch the review then, and if I ever do spoil it, I timestamp it. So I think this film excels in pretty much every category you can in a Bond film, where you have a great Bond in Pierce Brosnan. You have a great Bond girl in Natalia. You have a great Bond villain in Alec. You have the gadgets, really cool gadgets. You got a beautiful car. You've got gorgeous locations. You've got the villain's lair at the end, which is pretty awesome. You've got the action. This film goes all out on the action. It really does. And I gotta say, I prefer this action to License to Kill's action. I know. I'm gonna get hate for that, probably. But, I don't know. Just this film seemed to pace itself a lot better. I'm not a big fan of when movies front load themselves with action, and then at the end it's kind of just like fizzles out. I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of that. I feel like it's like giving you false hope for things to come in the end, where you're like, ooh, bet you can't wait for the action scene at the end, and then there really isn't one. No, this film doesn't do that. The action is really well done. There's a scene at the beginning. There's like the shootout at the beginning that leads to like there's some really cool stunts with Bond like jumping over a dam with a cable behind him. It's a really awesome shot. It's super well shot. And then there's him going off the cliff with the motorcycle, dropping the motorcycle, and then flying down to the plane, pulling it up, and then going into the title sequence. There's the shootout in the library. There's the tank chase throughout the city that goes on for a while, and I love it. There's a reason why a lot of the Bond video games have had sequences where you drive a tank. What's the other one? Oh yeah, there's the one on the train. Very suspenseful sequence on the train. And it's, of course, at the end there's the shootout in the villain's lair, and there's explosions. This film has a ton of explosions. It really does. I feel like that's where a lot of the budget went. Maybe it went to the marketing, since when I looked at the special features, there were two theatrical trailers and then 12 different TV spots. Like, shit. Do you think that's enough? But yeah, this film, I can see a couple of the criticisms I've heard where people say, oh, it's just a straightforward action movie. I can kind of see that. I just don't exactly agree. I think Martin Campbell is a great director for this, even though I don't remember liking Casino Royale, because I love The Mask of Zorro. I liked The Protege. Edge of Darkness is one of my favorite films. I've never seen Vertical Limit. But yeah, I've always been a big fan of his. So I'm just sorry, I'm at a loss for words. It's kind of hard to review a film like this that I just love. It's hard to because I have the memory of a fucking goldfish, so I can't even think of it's hard to think of specific moments. But yeah, this film has literally everything you'd want in a Bond film. It really does. It like I mentioned, it's got all the things you'd want. So I guess I go to the pros and cons. I don't know what else to say. Pros. Great Bond actor, Pierce Brosnan. I think he's even better in the second and third of his, Tomorrow Never Dies and World's Not Enough. I'll have to watch them again to see. I like Natalia as a Bond girl. I like Alec as a villain. Love Xenia as a villain, as a henchwoman. M is Judi Dench is M. I like her. I think I'll have to watch the others again. I like Samantha Bond as Moneypenny, I think. Let's hope that the dialogue in the next two is better. The score from Eric Serra is possibly one of my favorites. And it's not just because Eric Serra is one of my... I'm pretty sure he's my favorite composer. But just for now, he's one of my favorite composers. So there's not too much of, people being like, oh, you only like it because it's Eric Serra. No, I like it because Eric Serra didn't make it too intrusive. Even though I loved the Bill Conti score from For Your Eyes Only, it got a bit intrusive at times where it would be a bit blaring or it'd be a bit too loud and I couldn't hear what was going on in the scene sometimes. Not like it was over actors talking, but sometimes it would distract me a bit from what's going on. But yeah, this Eric Serra score is just so atmospheric, so 90s, so smooth. You've got the steel drums, you've got the saxophones, it's awesome. Again, title sequence, I love it. Song, I like it. And again, there's a couple cons. The whole feminism thing doesn't really sit well. And the car that Bond gets, that Q is like, oh yeah, all of these things, and these gadgets, he never gets to use any of them. And then he just basically gets his car traded out for a plane by Joe Don Baker. How dare you? But yeah, all in all, this is a fantastic Bond film. It really is. There's only other than those two things, I really have nothing bad to say about it. I love it. So Hope you enjoyed the review. Like, comment, subscribe, and Movie Review Next Door out.